Hello, this is David William Weissner, and this is another episode of David Speaks. Tonight I want to talk about my time in Albuquerque, where I was mostly homeless for about a month. It started when I was let out of Los Angeles County Jail, and they let me out, I think, because of overcrowding. I was there about a year, and there's so many people in jail, they just let you out eventually. I was never charged with anything, I was never convicted of anything, but for some reason I spent a year in Los Angeles County Jail. Okay. Um, Eventually, so when I got out, I called my mother back home well, she was in Florida at that point in Boca Raton, and she sent me a train ticket to get home to New York City, to our house in New York City, and the the train people wouldn't let me come on because I didn't have ID. The ID was stolen on the bleachers at the basketball courts in Muscle Beach back in Venice, where I had lived on and off homeless for like a year or two. Um, so I really didn't know what to do. I had a few dollars. She said she had Western Union me a few dollars too, like $80 for whatever, and the ticket. So there were two officers outside the train station, a female and a male. I approached the male officer and I said to him, "Excuse me, officer, I just got out of jail. I gotta get home. I gotta get back home to New York. My mother sent me a ticket, and the railroad won't let me get on without an ID. Is there anything he could do for me?" And he was a really nice guy. I mean, this guy, what he did for me was incredible. This police officer. He said, "Let me talk to them." So he talked to them, and for some reason, he didn't know me. He didn't know me from anything. He knew I got out of jail. He went to bat for me, and he made them take me on the train. I'll never forget that act of kindness from that police officer. Okay, so I got on the train, and the train was going all the way to Chicago, and then there's a transfer in Chicago to New York. So I was on the train, and I hated it. I was just, I don't know, I was just sitting in the dark in my seat. So I mostly hung out in the lounge car. There's really like no other people there. Everybody was sleeping at night, but I hung out in the lounge car, and I went down a stairwell to the bar car. I wasn't drinking anything. I just like Coke and maybe some snacks, pretzels or whatever. And I was like sleeping in the bar car, in the lounge car, just on the floor, just laying down and watching the night go by. And we flew through the desert during the day, and I've never seen anything so scary. America is such a beautiful place, and it's so vast. That desert went on forever, as far as I could see. It was unbelievable. Eventually, we got into Albuquerque, and the train made some stops, and I was I was confronted by I don't know if it was the conductor, but some worker on the train said and asked me for my ID. I said I don't have ID. The cops got me on back in Los Angeles, okay, and so they said, well, you got to get off the train. I got my ticket. I paid for this train. My mother paid for me for this train all the way to New York City. It's not cheap, and so they brought two cops onto the train to escort me off the train. Now I might have pissed them off because I did smoke cigarettes in the bathroom, which is just I'm sure is not permitted, but whatever it was, I had no ID to show them, and the cop said the conductor says you got to get off. You have no ID. That's the law. To me, that reminds me of like Nazi Germany. You can't travel in this country without ID. You can't you can't really take a bus. I don't think. It's been a while since I took a bus, but as far as I know, you need ID to get on a train, on a plane, or anything. I never liked that. I felt that's very controlling. I felt that's Nazi Germany. Your papers, please. What the hell's the difference, really? You know. that is another story. But anyway, so the cops escorted me off the train. I was cool. I wasn't messing with them. They're very nice. It was a man and a woman cop. I said I had no money really. I was out of money at that time. I was spending a lot of money on the train. I was on the train for like a few days to Albuquerque, and so the female cop was very nice. She gave me $5 out of her pocket, out of her wallet. The female cop gave me $5. Said, "Here, get yourself something to eat, get a sandwich or something." I said, "I'm homeless now." And she said, "I'm sorry. There's really nothing we could do for you. Just call your people. Try to get home." So I was homeless in Albuquerque. So from somewhere, somebody's cell phone, I called my mother back in Florida, and I said, "Mom, they kicked me off the train, and I told her the story, and she said, I said, could you put me up in a hotel for a week, and I'll figure out how to get back to New York another way." Okay, and like, so she put me up in a hotel for a week, and it really wasn't easy. She was trying to give them her credit card numbers over the phone, and they gave her a lot of trouble. They made her literally fax her driver's license and ID and all this stuff. It took hours, but I finally had a hotel room for about a week. Okay, and then I was trying to figure out how to get home, and I looked at the bus. I went to the bus station, and you needed an ID to get on the bus to get from Albuquerque to Florida, to Boca Raton, where my parents lived. So I stayed in the hotel for about a week, and my mother wouldn't pay more than that. It was expensive, whatever, $150 a day or something. My mother's not Rockefeller or whoever, and she said, "Well, she said, Are you on your medicine?" And I did. I was on my medicine. I called up back in Brooklyn my cousin, who's a doctor, and she called in my medicine for bipolar to a pharmacy, and they had my insurance because it was a national pharmacy, and she had my insurance, and I was on my medicine, but it really wasn't the right medicine. It was what the last doctor had given me. I was still a little manic. So my mother said, "Well, go to a homeless shelter. What can I do for you? That's it. We'll try to figure out a way." She was trying to get my birth certificate so I can get ID in Albuquerque, and she tried. And we're trying to get a birth certificate mailed, but I don't know. There's a lot of red tape. It was going to take some time. She said, "Well, either go to a psychiatric hospital or go to a homeless shelter, and that's it, David." And I kept in contact with her. I got a phone, like a free phone, from one of those local stores, cellular stores. So I had a phone for a while, and so I talked to her, and I went to the homeless shelter. Well, here's how I got to the homeless shelter. I was walking down the street at about 8 o'clock at night, and there was a bar. I was out of the hotel. I just had like a bag with me, like a knapsack with some clothes, and I was walking past a bar. A lot of people were outside smoking. People were hanging out. And there was a beautiful young woman by the bar, by the door, like to the left of the door. And she said to me, just like this. Looks at me. She goes, "I'm 18." Okay. I was like, "What?" She's like, "I'm 18." So I guess she's telling me that she's legal and go for it. So I was like, okay. I was like, just give me 5 minutes. I want to just go change. And I literally went. I wanted to put on cleaner pants and clothes. It was getting a little cold in the desert. It gets cold at night. So I went around the corner and I changed clothes, and then I came back and I hung out with these people. And I don't know her name. I don't know. She had a face like an angel. So I just I don't even remember her name, but I called her Angel Face, and she was beautiful for real. And I hung out with her for like an hour, and her best friend was with her, this dude, and we talked. I ended up making out with her on the street. She was really beautiful, and we had a nice conversation, and she gave me her number, and then after a while, she said her and her friends are going somewhere, and I said, "All right, I have your number." Okay. So I just went on with my day, which is basically walking around at night without having a place to sleep. And I started sleeping on the college campus because I felt safe there, and there was like a piano in in the big cafeteria. It was huge. It was the University of New Mexico, or University of Albuquerque, something like that. It was a beautiful campus with lots of nice people, and I hung out there. And I played the piano. There was a piano, and this really cool guy. He was a gay dude, and he came up to me, and we were talking, and he gave me a whole book of sheet music with all the beautiful songs that I love. So I was able to play and sing. And I was playing and singing for all these people, and that was fun. And then I don't know, I found a place to sleep. There was like this homeless thing. There's like a homeless luncheon going on for all these people at a church in Albuquerque. And I sat there and I ate food and I met all the people and talked to people. I even sang. They had a band. I don't know if there's a homeless band, but somehow I ended up singing House of the Rising Sun, which I actually know by heart, with the band. So, and this is my homeless life in Albuquerque. And they gave everybody food, and some of the girls who work with the church were giving out things. So she gave me her blanket. So I had a nice blanket to sleep in because it was so cold at night in the desert. So I would sleep at the on the campus near a lake. There was like benches, but it felt very safe. It was cozy. So I would sleep with my blanket. It was very cold at night. My feet, I actually got black marks on my feet. I don't know if it was frostbite or whatever it was, but I got blackness on my feet from the cold. I didn't have the, remember, I came from Los Angeles. I wasn't dressed for the weather. Okay, so the blanket really saved me. And I slept there a few nights. And one night a man came up to me while I was sleeping, and he was homeless too. And he was very, very drunk. And he talked to me and asked if I could help him. And he was drunk, and I know he was gonna get hypothermia or something, or I know it's worse if you're drunk. I think when it's cold out. So I let him huddle up to me. I don't know this man. He was homeless. I just my took the blanket. I said, "All right, well, you could stay with me tonight. We'll huddle up in this blanket, put it around your feet." And I slept with a man that night, a stranger, just to keep him alive. It was cold. It was really cold. Okay, so I never saw him again, but I walked around the campus, and it was actually it was a beautiful campus. People were beautiful. I met a girl in the cafeteria, and I talked to her, just a beautiful college girl, and I asked her for a date, and we met that night at the library, and I talked to her, and so we went that night at the library. So I spent like 3 hours. I had no money. Well, my mother had sent me some money for food. I really was okay for food pretty much because my mother kept sending me whatever by Western Union, 100 here, 100 there, just so I had food. Um, but I was still on the streets. Then, so we had a date, very nice date. We talked for 2 or 3 hours. I told her my problems. She told me hers. It was beautiful. At the end of the night, I kissed her goodbye. She gave me a number, but when you're homeless, it is very difficult to have a relationship with anybody, obviously. And I was on the move. She knew I was trying to get back home to New York. So, and then I called that girl I originally met, because the girl I call Angel Face, and I just called to talk to her. And she told her father what had happened, that I had no place to stay. And her father was so nice to me, and he knew that I'd hooked up with his 18-year-old daughter, and he was very nice and told me the address of the homeless shelter and tried to help me. And he did. And I went to the homeless shelter, and I stayed there like 2 nights, but I didn't feel safe there. There were a lot of like seedy looking people, criminals. I don't want to, I was a homeless person too, so I don't want to put down the homeless people, but it wasn't fun. And I think things got stolen from me. It was rough. Okay. Now, so I stayed there 2 nights. The food was just horrible. My uncle sent me $300. My great It wasn't my great uncle, but I think he's a great guy. My uncle, who I love so much, sent me $300 by Western Union. Had some money, and and then I went to the library. We still couldn't get ID, but I went to the library, and this wonderful person, this woman, this young woman, saved my ass. She allowed me to take out a library card and put a fake address on it, and it was ID for real. This is ID now, a library card. It's something. And I used that ID to get to the homeless shelter like one night. I wanted to go back there just to be safe. But I was sleeping on the campus of the University of Albuquerque, University of New Mexico, whatever it was called. And it was very cold at night. And I had some money to eat, so it wasn't as bad as being in Los Angeles where I had to eat out of garbage cans. Eventually, my sister took action and bought me a bus ticket to Florida. From Albuquerque to Florida. It was 4 buses. It's a long trip from Albuquerque to Boca Raton. So I was in the bus station, and I don't know. There was a girl behind the counter, and you do need ID there. All I had was my library card, and I just begged her. I said, "This is all I have. This is who I am. I don't have my license." And this girl was so nice. She let me get on the bus, and then I took 4 buses to get to Boca Raton, Florida, where I was safe with my parents. All right, that was my time in Albuquerque. I'm telling you, homelessness, for any reason, and I think it's crazy that you need an ID just to travel within the United States. I don't know why they do it like that. All right, that's it for tonight. I'll see you next time on David Speaks. Good night.